Introduction. In the preceding chapter, our concern was to describe the motion of a particle in space quantitatively. We saw that uniform motion needs the concept of velocity alone, whereas non-uniform motion requires the concept of acceleration in addition. So far, we have not asked the question as to what governs the motion of bodies. In this chapter, we turn to this basic question. Let us first guess the answer based on our common experience. To move a football at rest, someone must kick it. To throw a stone upwards, one has to give it an upward push. A breeze causes the branches of a tree to swing. A strong wind can even move heavy objects. A boat moves in a flowing river without anyone rowing it. Clearly, some external agency is needed to provide force to move a body from rest. Likewise, an external force is needed also to retard or stop motion. You can stop a ball rolling down an inclined plane by applying a force against the direction of its motion. In these examples, the external agency of force is in contact with the object. This is not always necessary. A stone released from the top of a building accelerates downward due to gravitational pull of the earth. A bar magnet can attract an iron nail from a distance. This shows that external agency can exert force on a body even from a distance. In short, a force is required to put a stationary body in motion or a stop moving body, and some external agency is needed to provide this force. The external agency may or may not be in contact with the body. So far so good, but what if a body moving uniformly, that is, example, a skater moving straight with constant speed on a horizontal ice slab, is an external force required to keep a body in uniform motion? Aristotle's fallacy. The question posed above appears to be simple. However, it took ages to answer it. Indeed, the correct answer to this question given by Galileo in the 17th century was the foundation of Newtonian's mechanism, which signaled the birth of modern science. The Greek thinker Aristotle held the view that if a body is moving, something external is required to keep it moving. According to this view, for example, an arrow shot from a bow keeps flying since the air behind the arrow. The view was part of an elaborate framework of ideas developed by Aristotle on the motion of bodies in the universe. Most of the Aristotelian ideas on the motion are now known to be wrong and need not concern us. For our purpose here, the Aristotelian law of motion may be phrased thus: an external force is required to keep a body in motion. Aristotelian law of motion is flawed, as we shall see. However, it is a natural view that anyone would hold from common experience. Even a small child playing with a simple toy car on a floor knows intuitively that it needs to constantly drag the string attached to the toy car with some force to keep it moving. If it releases the string, it comes to rest. This experience is common to most terrestrial motion. External force seems to be needed to keep bodies in motion. Left to themselves, all bodies eventually. What is the flaw in Aristotle's argument? The answer is a moving toy car comes to rest because the external force of friction on the car by the floor opposes its motion. To counter this force, the child has to apply an external force on the car in the direction of motion. When the car is in uniform motion, there is no net external force acting on it. The force by the child cancels the force by the floor. The corollary is, if there were no friction, the child would not be required to apply any force to keep the toy car in uniform motion. The opposing force, such as friction in solid and viscous force in fluid are always present in natural world. This explains why force by external agency are necessary to overcome the frictional force to keep body in uniform motion. Now we understand where Aristotle went wrong. He quoted that particle experience in the form of basic argument. To get at the true law of nature for forces in motion, one has to imagine a world in which uniform motion is possible, with no frictional force opposing. This is what Galileo did, the law of inertia. Galileo studied motion of objects on an inclined plane. Objects first moving down an inclined plane accelerates while those second moving up retard. Third, moving on a horizontal plane in a intermediate situation. Galileo concluded that an object moving on a frictionless horizontal plane must neither have acceleration nor retardation. That is, it should move with constant. Another experiment by Galileo leading to the same conclusion involves a double inclined plane. A ball released from rest on one of the planes rolling down and climbs up the other. If the planes are smooth, the final height of the ball is nearly the same as the initial height, a little less but never great. In ideal situation, when friction is absent, the final height of the ball is same as its initial height. If the slope of the second plane is decreased and experiment repeated, the ball will still reach the same height, but in doing so, it will travel a longer distance. In the limiting case, when the slope of the second plane is zero, that is a horizontal, the ball travels an infinite distance. In other words, its motion never ceases. This is of course an idealized situation. In practice, the ball does come to a stop after moving a finite distance on the horizontal plane because of opposing force of friction which can never be totally eliminated. However, if there were no friction, the ball would continue to move with a constant velocity on the horizontal plane. Galileo thus arrived at a new insight on the motion that had eluded Aristotle and those who followed him. The state of rest and the state of uniform linear motion are equivalent. In both cases, there is no net force acting on the body. It is incorrect to assume that a net force is needed to keep a body in uniform motion. To maintain a body in uniform motion, we need to apply an external force to encounter the frictional force so that the two forces sum up to zero net external force. To summarize, if the net external force is zero, a body is at rest continues to remain at rest, and a body in motion continues to move with a uniform velocity. This property of body is called inertia. Inertia means resistance to change. A body does not change its state of rest or uniform motion unless an external force compels it to change that state. Newton's first law of motion. Galileo's simple but revolutionary ideas dethroned Aristotelian's mechanism. A new mechanism has to be developed. The task was accomplished almost single-handedly by Isaac Newton, one of the greatest scientists of all times. Newton's built on Galileo's ideas and laid the foundation of mechanism in terms of three laws of motion that go by his name. Galileo's law of inertia was his starting point, which he formulated as the first law of motion. Every body continues to be in its state of rest or of uniform motion in a straight line unless compelled by some external force to act otherwise. The state of rest or uniform motion both imply zero acceleration. The first law of motion can therefore be simply expressed as if the net external force on a body is zero, its acceleration is zero. Acceleration can be non-zero only if there is a net external force on the body. Two kinds of situations are encountered in the application of this law in practice. In some examples, we know that the net external force on the object is zero. In that case, we can conclude that the acceleration of the object is zero. For example, a spaceship out in an interstellar space far from all objects and with all its rockets turned off has no net external force acting on it. Its acceleration according to first law must be zero. If it is in motion, it must continue to move with a uniform velocity.